Following what has been a brutal stretch of games for the Toronto Maple Leafs, multiple NHL insiders, including Chris Johnson, has just come out and dropped a bombshell report as it pertains to the Toronto Maple Leafs and their future, specifically regarding Mitch Marner as well as a couple other players. But we're going to break down exactly what that report is, as this changes everything for the future of this Leafs team. And yes, Mitch Marner is in the thick of these reports, so stay tuned for that in this episode, as well as multiple other Leafs updates, because they still play a game tomorrow. Despite losing 3 in a row, they have a chance to push it to a Game 7, so a ton to go over today. But before we get into all of that, it's going to be a crazy video. Make sure to hit the subscribe button if you're a part of the 71% who aren't subscribed. We are on the road and getting very close to 19,000 subscribers. Your guys' support has been unbelievable, so make sure to hit the subscribe button. We'll be live as well following tomorrow night's game. Hopefully, it won't be talking about the Leafs getting eliminated, but regardless, we'll be there. Darius, you had a video earlier today, multiple videos today. Some crazy reports have dropped this afternoon that we have to talk about. And obviously the Leafs, there's a lot of overreaction surrounding the Leafs, and they're not overreaction necessarily, but a ton of reactions, because honestly it's very justified. And the unfortunate reality is this game tomorrow is going to decide the future for this team. And we have a bunch of reports, not just, rumors, reports here from Chris Johnson and others surrounding Mitch Marner. And let's start with this from Chris Johnson. We also have some others. There's no indication that Mitch Marner will sign a new deal with the Leafs before July 1st, especially after he declined to negotiate an extension during the season. All signs point to him walking for free. At 28, there's a growing belief that he's ready for a fresh start after facing heavy criticism for the team's ongoing playoff struggles. Criticism that's expected to intensify now with Marner and Matthews completely shut down in round 2 by the Stanley Cup champions. You pair this with here, again, this looks to be how it ends for Mitch Marner in Toronto, assuming, and there's a lot of assuming here, that they lose in Game 6. Darius, of course, the Game 6 still needs to be played. Hopefully they can win. I want them to win and keep going. And I want there to be a happy ending with the Mitch Marner situation here if they can win the cup or something crazy. However, as it stands right now, things look like they are definitely coming to an end. And Mitch Marner's time in Toronto, this might be the last time we ever see Mitch Marner in a Leafs jersey. It's about 24 hours, over 24 hours from now.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if it's going to be more than over 24 hours from now. I wonder if they do force a Game 7. But the first thing I want to say is it's unfortunate that we're already talking about this stuff, because there's going to be so much room and so much time to talk about this stuff if they are eliminated this weekend. But this is what happens. Chris Johnson with the report today. This is something that is going to happen. There's that much more added pressure onto Game 6 at this point, but it doesn't matter. They should have been over this by now. We hear John Tavares the last couple of years, last 7 years, we're learning lessons. At some point, you must graduate or you're going to stay in the same grade, and they've been staying in the same grade for a long time. So yes, we can start to talk about all this stuff, because you know what? If they do lose tomorrow night, if they do lose in Game 6, Brendan Shanahan must be fired. He must be fired. There's no world, and we're not even talking about Mitch Marner. Oh, maybe he doesn't want to re-sign for the dollar amount that the Leafs want to pay him. It's not even about that anymore. If they lose Game 6, or if they lose this series as a whole because of what happened in Game 7, even if they lose in Game 5, if they lose in Game 7, as an organization, you cannot bring Mitch Marner back. It wouldn't make any sense. And I'm sure he wants a fresh start, because he has been at the forefront, at the center of all this criticism. And I know a lot of people, even on the comment section of this video, and I've seen it before, and there is this section of Leaf fans that are saying, what about Austin Matthews, pointing fingers there? Why are we pointing fingers, right? Like, these guys should be performing. This should be a team with how much skill that they have, that this fan base, this city should be proud of. And they've done nothing but embarrass their fans for the last 8 years with a performance like they did last night. So Mitch Marner, if this goes south here in Game 6, no, he can't return. But the Leafs and for Leaf fans, I think there is something to be excited about, and that is tomorrow night, because if they lose, things will finally change. And if they win, and they win Game 7, they somehow win this series, they finally have shown us that they have changed, right? So you're getting change one way or another if you're a Leafs fan this weekend. So I think you have reason to be ecstatic about whatever happens this weekend. Either change, or they've shown us that they have changed. So I think I know what's going to happen. I think if I was putting money down, if I was a betting man, I do know what's going to happen, but we have to see how it plays out. There's still one more game to be played. But again, with all these reports, I think it's slowly starting to look like, the definition of insanity is continuing to do the same thing over and over again and expect different results.
And we've obviously, we've played this fiddle before. Last offseason, not as concrete reports of this. There was rumors of Marner, getting traded, all these different things. And ultimately they decided to run it back. But this is the end now, regardless, because he is no longer a part of the Toronto Maple Leafs as soon as this season ends and free agency hits. Just the way that it is, it would be a free agent for every other team for the first time in this Core 4 era. Any of the Core 4 have become free agents. And yeah, I think there's a very strong chance that, and it's not Kyle Dubas anymore. It is Brad Treliving, and he probably wanted to give it a chance for really 2 years, this being the second year here, with him fully at the helm and being able to, make the addition at the trade deadline in the offseason, built the team how he wants. And I still think, and we'll have tons of videos covering this, the way that he built the team, it's set up to win. Now, they might need to adjust some of their core and get different players around them, but I still think the defense, the goaltending, even most of the forward group, even the depth, I think, is very good. These guys just aren't performing. He also sees here, just like Mitch Marner, who may be in his final days to leave. John Tavares, another pending UFA, whose future remains uncertain despite expressing a strong desire to stay. He might not get that choice. We'll have a ton of videos covering the John Tavares thing. I think this might be a little bit overstated and might be a bit of an overreaction here. I think Tavares is going to stay. I don't think that's going to be impacted heavily. However, there's a world where John Tavares doesn't want to. We'll have to see kind of what happens here. I think he probably will stay, and we'll save that again. There'll be tons of videos dropping because as soon as this season ends one way or another, it's going to be a hectic few weeks, months, whatever you want to call. But at the end of the day, Mitch Marner is probably going to, all these reports are indicating he's going to be gone. But also, Chris Johnson went out and said, without a drastic comeback in this series, this really feels like the end of the road for the Shanahan era Maple Leafs. So you mentioned it. I think Shanahan might even be the first one let go if things go south. You're going to keep your coach. I think Craig Berube is good. You have Brad Treliving. You have everybody else around them. It's really just Mitch Marner, there's a lot here. John Tavares, Brendan Shanahan, and Matthew Nyes, who's an RFA. No one's going to clamor for him to leave the Leafs. He's going to stay with the Leafs, hopefully for, the rest of his career if he continues to play well. But man, we're hearing about players being, let go of Mitch Marner, and we still have a game left. It's not like it's a 3-0 or 3-1 series here. It is a 3-2 series, 2 wins and you move on. And that's how crazy and how much of a turn that this series has taken in the Toronto Maple Leafs as a whole.
But it's the way that they got to 3-2. If you look at any other, team, and there's 10 teams that have come back from being up 2-0 and then going down 3-2 in a series in NHL history, right? A lot of them were over half a century ago, but we don't have to talk about that. But there are teams that have done that, but it's the way that they got here and the fact that they continue to do the same things, right? And when you look at Mitch Marner, he has been the scapegoat here in Toronto for a long time. But honestly, I'm going to say it now, like, it's for good reason. Like, he cannot get it done in these moments. I believe the stat is 19 games that he's played in, elimination games where a team can get eliminated. He has 6 points in those 19 games. You are paid $11 million. You have to be a difference maker in those moments. Oliver Ekman-Larsson's not going to be a difference maker in these moments. It would be nice. Maybe sometimes you see other teams, like stuff like that happen sometimes, but on the regular, these guys have not come up big, and neither has Auston Matthews. I'm going to say it now too. I think he's probably hurt, but he hasn't done it in the past. There have been a few times where he has, but not enough, right? And you're paying these guys this much money to come up big in these moments. So Mitch Marner hasn't been that guy. I don't know if we have the clip either, but the spinorama thing from Game 5 is so absurd. Like, I would like to bring it up because you like, this series is not done, but boy, you cannot win a series with that. You are not going to win in the NHL with that. There's no way. This is not junior hockey. This is not even the London Knights. This is the NHL. This is Game 5 of the second round against the defending Stanley Cup champions. If you're making plays like that and you're that mentally checked out, you're not going to be able to win. So all of that to be said, if they end up losing Game 6, Mitch Marner has to leave. It should, as an organization, it's not even on Mitch Marner. As an organization, you have to move on from the player. You have to try something else. You probably need a new president as well. All of this as well, I hope that they win Game 6 and 7. I'm still a Leafs fan. I'm hoping that they win. There is still a chance, but man, with everything we've seen from this group, it's hard to believe that they would get it done.
Yeah, it's a very weird situation to be in. And if you're curious about, you can see here, let's kind of transition a little before I wrap up into tomorrow's game. Tomorrow's game is to be the most important in the last decade. These three could all potentially be members of the Leafs for the final time. That's a scary thing. We could have witnessed, in theory, Tavares and Mitch Marner's last game as a Toronto Maple Leaf at home in yesterday's game, and we could witness their last games in Maple Leafs entirely tomorrow, which is something to keep an eye out on. And the Leafs Cup chance now has dropped to 3% following their losses. And does that really matter? Just win this round. It's still, very possible, 23, I think, percent chance if you want to go based on the advanced analytics. But what I don't want to see tomorrow in the biggest game, and it's going to be very clear here, I think. I feel like almost the worst way. They're either going to go out fighting strong and they lose in a heartbreaking fashion, or they're going to win the game, or they're just going to put a complete disaster performance like we saw in yesterday. And if I see another pass like the one we just saw here, I might lose my mind, and it might be fitting. That's how his Toronto Maple Leafs tenure ends. But ladies and gentlemen, you guys have been fantastic. You guys have been beasts. So make sure to hit that subscribe button, and we will see you guys later on for another video and stream coming up following tomorrow night's game. Stay tuned for that. We'll see you guys in another video soon.